How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another preseason FPL video. And today we're going to be continuing our Team Watch series. And up next is Southampton. We're going to be taking a look at what players from the Saints that we're going to be looking at as major FPL options. Some not so much, or will need something to change in order for them to become a little bit more viable. And lastly, we'll be looking at what they are doing in the transfer market to help bolster their squad going into the new season, and what may become FPL options for us in the future. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new or haven't done so already. It greatly helps out the channel, as well as turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Also, make sure to drop us a follow over on Twitter and join our FPL Flames Recruits League. It will be in the Twitter bio as well as in the description down below. As well as give us a follow over on Twitch that you can see when we go live for our preview and deadline streams, which will be starting a week tomorrow. I'm excited for them. Can't wait for the FPL season to start. With that being said, let's talk about our partners for today in Fantasy Football Scout. We have partnered up with Fantasy Football Scout for this coming Fantasy Premier League season, and they're giving you an exclusive offer. Use the link down in the description to get 20% off your Fantasy Football Scout membership. It gives you access to the exclusive members area, which has new tools such as the 3-player comparison tool, as well as some old favorites such as the Rate My Team tool, the Season Ticker, and my personal favorite, the fully customizable stats tables, which you can share among other Fantasy Football Scout members, powered by Opta Stats. Use the link down in the description below to get 20% off your membership today. Sign up now. Now, with Southampton, they started off very, very well at the beginning of last season. And I think in the first 8 games, I believe they were top of the table at one point, which is absolutely insane. I think they were sitting around like 20-ish points or so, having played 6 to 8 games, something of that nature. And then they only ended up the season with, not very much more points than that. Realistically, they were also in trouble with relegation for a brief period of time. And it's just a bit weird because I think Ralph Hasenhüttl sets his teams up to do quite well, very offensive-minded, usually defensively solid as well when need be, and they were just kind of all over the place. It was just really, really weird. Like, if you look at their big chances, 65, it looks decent. 251 shots total in the box. That's about par for the course. But it's the non-penalty XG of 37.06 that's a little bit on the lower side. You want to see that up in the 40s to basically cement yourself as like a mid-table team, depending on the season, obviously, as well. And if we look at some of the main kind of players for them, Theo Walcott was doing okay for various small patches of the season, although not towards the end of the season. James Ward-Prowse, the ever-present set-piece taker, can put in a free kick from basically anywhere, can whip in a corner, whip in, anything, and he can put it on one of the center backs' heads, and that's why his chances created are by far and away top for Southampton. 1.18 XGI for 6.5 million midfielder granted this season. Maybe he's something to consider. We'll have to kind of see. The fixtures are a bit mixed in the opening, so we'll have to kind of see if Southampton do versus Everton. If they go and smash Everton out of the park, then maybe it's something to consider after the Man United game. And then Danny Ings, someone who's potentially being linked away to the club. More on that in the transfer section. And he's currently sitting at 8 million as a starting price. Only one big chance in the last 4 matches, shows that he was a bit starved. Although he did have a kind of an on and off injury prone season, which is something that in the previous season he did not have. So maybe is it time to basically consider Danny Ings an injury prone player again? We'll have to see on that front. But if the Saints are firing, I think Danny Ings is probably the one to go for. James Ward-Prowse could provide as a budget midfielder, but again, free kicks and, swinging in corners and getting assists and that sort of stuff are few and far between for the likes of, us FPL managers. We want consistency. We want, hey, James Ward-Prowse is threading balls into Danny Ings all game long, and Danny Ings is getting shots off and getting big chances. That's what we would want. Whereas Ward-Prowse is kind of a set piece type of guy. Theo Walcott would normally be that guy on the, one of the wider two players in a 4-2-2-2 system, and potentially could play alongside Danny Ings and be a runner off him. That would be the ideal. Walcott playing up front alongside Danny Ings for 6 million could prove to be quite effective, but we'll have to see kind of how that plays out. We'll also talk about Walcott's situation with Southampton in the transfer section as well. But I think Danny Ings is probably the main guy to go for if you're going to go for a Saints player. Looking at the fixtures, though, Everton away, Man United at home, you probably want to wait out those two first, see how they do, and then potentially look for a game week 3 transfer if you're going to go that route. Now, with that being said, we're going to take a look at some of the more defensive-minded options for Southampton going into the new season. Now, Southampton have a bit of a conundrum, as they did last season. Their goalkeeper situation. Both goalkeepers now priced at 4.5 million. I'm still not even sure which goalkeeper they're going to go with off the start of the season. There was a lot of calls for McCarthy to be dropped. Forster came in, didn't do too hot, and then McCarthy came back in. It's a bit all over the place. Now, they are both 4.5 million goalkeepers, and last season it was easy to kind of stick with both of them because Forster was 4 million, and we knew that McCarthy was the starter, and that would make things quite easy, although the goalkeeping situation is still up in the air. So I wouldn't necessarily be going there anytime soon. If we look at their stats, no clean sheets in the last 4 matches they played in the Premier League. 8 bonus points across the whole season for McCarthy's not terrible, but also not great either. Forster had 0. They had, similar-ish number of saves. McCarthy 19, Forster 13, both in double digits. But if you look at Forster's XG prevented versus the likes of McCarthy's was flat even. So basically he conceded the amount of goals he probably should have and, did okay when it came to shot stopping, whereas Forster probably conceded close to an extra goal than what he should have. And his kicking isn't necessarily the greatest at times. The same with McCarthy's. Both of them, when the ball's at their feet, is a bit of a worry. Now, in terms of defenders, I think the only one you can really consider is Walker Peters. He had, long-term injury, which left him out for quite a bit. I believe it was a hamstring injury, but when he's in the team, he can get shots off. He is somewhat involved. He is going to be one of the creators and can help with the likes of Theo Walcott on that right-hand side channel, that right half space. And I think he can do quite well. 5 million is probably a bit of a stretch, though. You're comparing him to the likes of any of the Spurs fullbacks. You're comparing him to the likes of Vladimir Coufal from West Ham. You're comparing him to the likes of Lewis Dunk from Brighton. I think there's just better options with better fixtures there available. So Southampton defense just isn't something I'm particularly keen on. Vestergaard is also someone who we don't have on the graphic, would again be a set piece threat. He comes in at 5 million. Benderek is 4.5, and again, not really necessarily ideal there. He is more of the not as attacking center back because Vestergaard's kind of the one that they look to cross the ball into. I think if Walker Peters came in at 4.5 million, much like how he did last season, then maybe there's an argument there. But I think Southampton's fixtures, as well as just their defensive frailties from last season, just don't seem to me like something I would be going anywhere near. So all in all, I think we're looking at mainly just an attacking option, potentially Walcott out of position, and potentially Danny Ings if he starts off well and keeps himself out of the doctor's office, as it were, and is fit and firing, because I think 8 million for him, who gets maybe 15 to 20 goals, could prove to be quite valuable, and he is a very creative player as well. So I think Southampton, definitely a wait and see defensively, maybe Danny Ings or Walcott. But apart from that, I would be staying away from for at least a couple game weeks. But let's see if there's any transfers that could change up their lineup or help bolster their squad going into this new season. Now, Southampton are clearly looking to fill some holes left in the squad from some transfers that have gone out of the team or could potentially go out of the team this off season. So in terms of the ins, they've brought in a replacement left back in Parod. He has come from Ligue 1, from Stade Brest, I think is how you pronounce it. Not really too sure on the pronunciation, but Ligue 1 again comes in at 5 million. So again, coming from a league that a lot of people say, oh, it's a farmers league and that sort of stuff, but I think it's still a wait and see on Southampton's defense regardless. 5 million. If you would have came in at 4.5, maybe there's a consideration. Approximately for just over 10 million pounds, and these are approximations from Transfermarkt, so they are approximations, so not official unless announced by the club. Then Theo Walcott, who was actually on loan last season to Southampton from Everton. He has now made that swap over to Southampton for a free transfer and will be there full time at the start of the season. And he comes in $6 million. We mentioned him in the attacking portion, but that's fantastic. He's now got a settled club, back to his roots, as it were. He started with Southampton before he went towards Arsenal, where he was the hot topic, as it were, when Arsenal were flying. Isaac Hayden is someone that could potentially come in as well as defensive midfield cover. He is someone who is at Newcastle, much of a destroyer, not necessarily, kind of liked by the Newcastle fans. He's a bit mixed, really. There are some who absolutely like his tenacity, like his tackling, like how he gets around the pitch, but then there's times where he can also make kind of very, very rash decisions, but could be defensive cover, as the likes of Romeu was somebody who was injured for quite some time, and with him being out at various points of the season, they were very, very defensively weak because James Ward-Prowse couldn't run the kind of midfield pivot in a defensive manner by himself, as he wants to obviously progress forward as more of a box-to-box role. And this is mainly due to the fact that Mario Lemina, someone who can play in that midfield pivot, can also play a little bit further up if he likes to. More of a box-to-box again, but is very good in the tackle, likes to get involved in the attacking play, but also knows when to get in position and is very intelligent in that manner. He has gone off to Ligue 1 himself for around like 5 million euros or something like that. A very, very small fee. I believe it's Nice that he's gone to. Yes, it is Nice in Ligue 1. Just had to check over on my notes there. And that is probably why they're looking at Hayden as a more of a defensive-minded replacement, and also cover for if Romeu were to get injured as well. And maybe if they're keeping the 4-2-2-2 system, maybe James Ward-Prowse plays more of one of the wider, more attacking options, getting Ward-Prowse further up the pitch, can often drift into the central areas, help bulk out the midfield, and they go with two more solid defensive-minded midfielders in Hayden alongside Romeu, and they just are basically there to get the ball back and give it to James Ward-Prowse, which is very possible that they could be transitioning to that. Ryan Bertrand is someone who has left the club as well. He's made his move over to Leicester, which is why they brought in Parode as a direct replacement for that as well. And then lastly, Danny Ings, we talked about him. He is still being touted as he only has 1 year left on his contract. Manchester United was interested. Spurs are one of the main contenders as well, as they're looking for another centre forward to potentially either play alongside Harry Kane or come in as kind of the Vinicius replacement. So there's definitely interest from clubs for him, as he's only in his last year of his contract and would be a fairly cheapish price, probably no more than £20 million, I wouldn't think, for his signature for the next club. He has obviously been injury prone, so they would like to keep him if he can stay fit. Danny Ings will definitely help out Southampton. It's just they need to be able to score goals and keep the goals out of the back of their own net. They had troubles at various points of the season of both ends of the pitch. So keeping Danny Ings and keeping him fit is step one of that process, I believe. So let me know in the comments down below what you think of Southampton's transfers and where they potentially need to strengthen in the future. And that is going to do it for our Team Watch edition for Southampton. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. It greatly helps out the channel, as well as turn those notification bells on so that you can get more videos like this one as soon as they are readily available. Also, give us a follow over on Twitter and join our FPL Flames Recruits League in the Twitter bio description, as well as give us a follow over on Twitch if you want to see when we go live for our preview and deadline streams, which will be starting a week from tomorrow. I can't wait for them. It's been so long, and the Euros were nice, but FPL is kind of our bread and butter. And lastly, take that opportunity, use the link down in the description below for Fantasy Football Scouts, 20% off their membership. It's a fantastic tool. It allows you to do various different things with stats tables, player comparisons, season ticker, all that sort of stuff, and I use it quite often, and it can help elevate your FPL game to the next level. Thank you all for watching, and until the next one, take care.